Taiwan is an island off the Chinese coast with enormous strategic importance to the United States and allies, along with rivaling China. After the Chinese Civil War in the 1950s, the Communist Party took control and the nationalist forces were forced to leave the mainland and live on the island of Taiwan. Since then, the Taiwanese people have slowly created their own independent democratic culture, but the Chinese Communist Party says that Taiwan is simply a rebellious province or state of China. China's policy towards Taiwan is that they will use diplomacy to reunite the nations, but if this fails, the Communist Party says they have the full right to invade. China, which is several times more powerful than Taiwan, has been threatening Taiwan for decades now, but recently the prospect for an invasion has become more likely than ever. The United States has remained the world's only superpower since the fall of the Soviet Union, but its strength is being challenged by China, who has also grown in power recently. As China threatens Taiwan, the United States has come to Taiwan's aid by selling weapons and holding military exercises with them. Along with this, the USA has been sending warships through the Chinese-claimed South China Sea. The United States has done several exercises using their powerful aircraft carriers and destroyers to unofficially threaten China. Both the Chinese and American aggression towards each other has raised tensions between the two nations. The Chinese don't want Taiwan simply because they want more land, but also because the United States has set up an alliance with most countries along the massive Chinese coast. These include Japan, Taiwan, the Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia, and more. This chain of island nations could restrict China's heavy export-driven economy. If the US sets up its own missile defenses or warships in these choke points, they could effectively cut China's economy off from the world by stopping cargo ships or sinking them. This would heavily weaken China, and if a war is waged, the United States could win with their allies. This is why China wants Taiwan. It is ethnically and historically part of China, but is also the center of the US blockade. You can see now if China has Taiwan, they can gain access to more nations to trade with and keep its economy going in wartime. It would also allow them to move the navy more freely. Taiwan also has another extreme importance to the entire world. This is because Taiwan is almost the world's sole semiconductor or computer chip producer. TSMC is a Taiwanese computer chip producing company. They have strategically placed about 90% of their factories on the island of Taiwan and produce 90% of the world's semiconductors. These chips are extremely important to the entire world, and if Taiwan's supply of them is cut off because of war, it could cripple the world tech companies just like that. All PCs, iPads would be hit hard, production would drop dramatically, and in the industrialized computer-driven world today, a war over Taiwan would have massive global effects. The world's militaries would also be hit hard as well. Missiles, tanks, jets, and much more would need these Taiwanese computer chips. And again, if supply is cut off because of war, both American and Chinese militaries won't be able to grow and replace the equipment lost on the battlefields. The average civilian won't be able to get new phones or computers as well. For these reasons, the US has protected Taiwan, and if an invasion happens, it is almost certain that America and its allies in the Pacific and Europe will respond. On the other hand, China wants Taiwan for these reasons as well. So in the event of an invasion, they would try to seize these factories that make computer chips. But if the full-scale invasion takes place, the factories may be destroyed in the fighting. If China takes Taiwan, with no matter what happens, the world would be having a major crisis. The reason we can't just build more factories somewhere else is because making chips is an extremely complex process, requiring hundreds of precisely controlled steps that result in pattern layers of various materials built on top of one another. There is reason to believe the Chinese invasion could happen sometime in the next 20 years. There is a large Chinese age group who are in their late 40s to 50s. In 20 years, that group will be in their 60s to 70s. That means a large number of Chinese people will retire and stop working. Millions of people will stop working and less money will be made for the Communist Party. After this, China will slowly decrease in power, while China's rival, the United States, will continue to grow in power. This 20-year mark will be China's deadline to invade Taiwan and challenge the United States' power before China will fall. If a war is sparked, it could turn into a global war, possibly even bigger than World War II, with millions of civilians and soldiers being caught in the crossfire. This World War III could last for years. Some people believe that this invasion could happen as early as 2027. Consider subscribing. Thank you.